Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to another recommendation video. First off, if you're here, welcome. Thank you for being brave. This has recently been requested by quite a few people for me to do this video. I know it's an interesting time in the world for this to be a thing, but I think those happen. I think when there are interesting historical and political events that happen, like that maybe make a certain thing even more taboo than it was before, that people get excited for it. So this is definitely a taboo book recs. I haven't done one that's that in a while actually. And surprisingly enough, we're gonna start with some on the light version of this kink and go up to heavier ones, some ones that involve dubious consent and non-consensual acts that are including the breeding, because I recently put out a video with different consent levels because I hadn't made one of those in a while. And specifically on that video, I mentioned a couple of them having a breeding kink or having a forced pregnancy situation going on in them. And that definitely piqued some people's interest for it. But I have gotten this request before. I just never realized how many books I've actually read with this in it. There was many more that I've read with it in it than I expected. In fact, I mean, you can see in the stack that I'm holding that I own most of these. So I do myself quite enjoy this when it shows up in books and the kinkiness of it. So like I said, we're going to kind of start with the lighter version of it, and some you might not even realize have this in it, because some of them don't even say I'm going to put a baby in you or let's make a baby. Some of them are maybe an arranged marriage where the purpose of the arranged marriage and the sex that they're having is for there to be a baby. So those are some of the ones we're starting with, is they have that lighter version of it where it isn't so much I'm stuffing you full kind of thing. Oh, sorry that I'm talking about this, but we read romance, you know what I'm talking about. Whereas some of these I'm going to get to, the hero is literally saying that while they're fucking, is he's the purpose of me filling you up is so that we have a baby. So, okay. So yeah, we're going to start at the lighter end of this and kind of work our way into some darker ones, okay? I think I have this kind of separated how I want it to be, but we'll see how we go, okay? So we're starting with one you maybe didn't even think about. And like I said, this one has more to do with a marriage of convenience type of thing. And so the Duchess deal. Yes, I'm starting this extremely taboo, no I'm not, this kinky video off with the Duchess deal, because the purpose of the marriage between the Duke of Ashbury and Emma is that he needs an heir. So the sex that they are having in this book is with baby making purposes. So very much on the lighter side, very much love this book. This is a much adored book, and maybe you didn't even think of it as having a breeding kink in it. Or as one of the tags on Goodreads calls it, breed me daddy. Yep, it's there. It's there, y'all. It's there. And if I didn't have so much foundation on, you would see me blushing a lot. But anyway, Emma at this one, if you don't know, for some reason, she is a wedding dressmaker, and she had made a wedding dress for the Duke of Ashbury's intended. That wedding has been canceled, and Emma has not been paid, and this dress cost a lot of money to make, and she needs it. So she shows up on his doorstep wearing the dress, demanding payment. And he's like, oh my gosh, my fiance ditched me because he is horribly disfigured now, apparently. Can't really tell it from this cover here. But she's already wearing a wedding dress. And so he's like, you know what? This is perfect. This is perfect. This woman has no expectations of me. And so he offers that they will be husband and wife only at night. There's no lights and no kissing. And they're only supposed to be doing it so that she can get pregnant. And then Emma, she kind of throws back some rules, and she's like, I want us to have dinner, and I want us to talk, and we're going to be friends at least when we're doing this. So this book, judge me all you want, but this book, it has that premise. The sex is for baby making purposes in this book. Another book that has that is one of my favorite fanfics, and it is Safe Word is Devil Snare by Shay Alani. This book was lovingly bound for me by my friend Mel Vinesfix. This is one of my favorite fanfics that I've read this year, and it's a short one. And this is a Neville Longbottom and Hermione Granger fic where there aren't very many wizard children being born, like there aren't any magical children being born, and so Hermione, who actually worked for the ministry, comes up with this like spell or charm that can be put that will show you who your best match is, and it's the person you are most likely to have strong magical children with. And so it turns out that Hermione and Neville match each other very well, and so they decide to start their relationship and work towards having a baby. And get married, and that's what's kind of happening with everyone their age group. But the thing is, Neville is a bit kinky, and so he doesn't want Hermione to get involved in something she doesn't want, because he's like, kink in the bedroom is very important to me. And so they start experimenting with that together, and I love it so much. Neville is a soft dom, of course, because he is a sweetie, but he is strict with his woman in the bedroom, and I love it. Now I have a couple kind of creature/alien ones that are still on the lighter side. So we have The Half-Orc's Maiden Bride by Ruby Dixon. This one is Lady Ilanth. She needs to marry this orc king, or this orc, I don't know if he's a king, but her father basically sells her off to him, and he needs to marry a strong woman to have his babies, because he doesn't think other humans will be able to do it. So this one has a beautiful, like, it's short, it's spicy, very much the hero worships the ground the heroine walks on right from the beginning, and, you know, baby making ensues, because, you know, Ruby Dixon likes to do that. So it's no surprise that I have another Ruby Dixon to show, Ice Planet Barbarians. I have only read like 5 books in this series. Someday I need to binge and just push through some more of these. I really do need to do that. I feel like they would make me happy. That might be something I need to do. But most of the books in this series, there is going to be some breeding kink happening, because the Kui, it tells you who your fated mate is. And all these women who have gotten stranded on this planet because they were taken from Earth to be slaves, basically, they end up dropped on this planet, and to survive there they need to have this Kui implanted in them, and then when they are around their fated mate, the person they are meant to, you know, procreate with and be with, it will start vibrating. And a lot of the sex that they're having is baby making, because these women are extremely fertile, because, well, they're not necessarily extremely fertile, but like the Kui, when it goes off for a certain person, it's because they're going to be able to make a baby with that person. So it's happening. So this is definitely like a lighter version still, but it's also still like pretty scary, because these women, there's these big blue men and their big blue dicks and shoving it in places and getting pregnant with, like, will it work? Are we compatible? What's going to happen? Could be a little scary. Could be a thing. Now hold on, I made a list, and like I said, I'm trying to go up in spice level, so, or I mean up in like intensity, so. Oh yeah, okay. One more that is still a bit more like fluffy still is Deceived by the Gargoyles by Lillian Lark. This one involves, there's actually already this like polyamorous like triad of gargoyles, and they, well, specifically one of them wants them to have a mate who could like bear their children, and so he joins this matchmaker, and he gets matched with this witch who's a librarian. She's also curvy, and so he starts dates with her, and then eventually reveals that he actually is already in a committed relationship, but he's looking to bring in someone who could be their mate, as well as like have their children too. So the breeding kink definitely exists in this. And Lillian Lark, she has another book out that I haven't read yet. I want to. It just came out. That is, I think, something with the swamp monster. I can't remember, but that one is supposed to have breeding kink in it too. I'm excited. Okay, then we're going up a little bit here. This one is the captive of the Horde King. This one ends up being kind of like, this woman gets taken captive because her brother did something wrong that brought her to the attention of one of the Horde Kings. This is on the planet of Dakar. And in exchange for him sparing her brother, she becomes his captive. But little does she know, she's actually going to become his bride and is going to have his heir, basically. And so there's there's nodding that is involved in this one. I love it so much. And there's a couple books in this series, I think, that have the breeding kink more on display, but it's pretty mild in this one, but it is also pretty clear that, like, he has the urge to fill her with his baby is in there. And I highly recommend this whole series. I love it so much. Then going up a little more of a notch, we have the Bloodline Vampire series by Katie Roberts. So there's Sacrifice, Heir, and Queen. The one with the most like breeding kink in it is going to be Heir. But she actually, these books, which I have beautiful copies of these. Do I have art in one of these ones? I don't. This is a reverse harem, but it is polyamorous reverse harem. And our heroine, she gets, she's a half human, half vampire, and she gets sent by her father to Malachi Zion, who's the last vampire in his family. And her role is to be a blood bank for him, and to kind of like control him based on that. And also she's supposed to get knocked up, and then her father will have the next vampire in that line because it will be in his daughter. And, you know, they want to resist that, but they're also very attracted. And then Malachi is already involved with, let's see if the name is written down, sorry, Rylan, I think. And they've already had like a on again, off again relationship for many years, and he ends up joining in on the fun. And then we have Wolf, who's a very like reluctant person being involved in this, but they end up all needing to work together to both get her pregnant, but also like keep her safe from her father as well. So these are getting rebound and are getting put in one that's called like the Vampire Queen or something. I don't know, because Barnes & Noble is going to do it. And I kind of love that not only has Katie Robert gotten them to have more like BDSM books on their shelves, which there already are those, but I mean like really more of the kinky level of it, you know, and like monster stuff on her shelves and menages. She's going to have a reverse harem on her shelves with breeding kink in it. It's going to be on Barnes & Noble shelves, which is just amazing. Then kind of stepping up the monster element, we have Viper by Naomi Lucas. I think I have pretty art in this one. Here's Varushka. And this series by Naomi Lucas, here's another cute one. Okay, this one's spicy. There we go. This is my copy from the Renegade Romance box. But there's 3 books out in this series. And this series is, there are these human women who have went with this like research team to what used to be Earth. Well, I mean, it's still Earth, but like it's not as we knew it. And there are these bunch of these snake alien men there who can smell the women. And they are going to destroy this research place to get at these women. And so the men researchers literally kind of like throw these women out, not like throw them out, but trade them for their own safety. And each of these different, how are they called? The Naga, they claim one of the women. And a big part of their claiming has to do with wanting to fill them with their babies. And so Varushka, he gets a hold of Gemma, and he's ready to make her his. And she's very resistant to this, obviously, because this is a snake man who wants to breed her. And she's like, the fuck. So these ones are not quite your typical like alien or like creature romance, because I feel like in a lot of them, people write the creatures very soft in their like heart towards the women, whereas like Varushka is like, you're mine. Like, why are you resisting? We're mates. We're going to make babies. It's happening. And so for some people, they say he's too pushy. You'll see reviews. People are like, this was too much. I like it because I like a bit of a captive. I like a bit of a, like, you were compelled. And it's a mix between, like, dubious consent And the women, like, when they smell the pheromones coming off of the naga, they are horribly horny for them because it's just this natural, like, mating thing that gets spread out. So it's here. He's gonna hunt her down and put his alien baby in her, and I like it a lot. Then we have another of those here a little bit. So I actually wrote down the, hold on, I got to mark these off. Beep, beep, beep. Okay. This entire series by Jennica Snow has different levels of, like, breeding kink in it, because this is the Lichen series. So this one is actually I think this was book 4 in the series, and this one was actually the first vampire in the series. But it starts with the King, which is the prequel, which is about, like, the parent of the series. And then there's Big Bad Wolf, and the Alpha. Let me see if there's a list. I'm not even all caught up in the series because she pops these books out so fast. But anyway, I was lucky enough to get a physical ARC copy of this one from Jennica, so that was cool. But okay, this one is number 5. And this one was the first vampire one. But what I love a couple things about this series. So these ones are, like, if you read any Jennica Snow, okay, her men are super alpha, they're super horny, they're always looking to breed their ladies. Like, whether it is her mafia books or whether it's her paranormal books, like, they are always ready to she writes lots of breeding kink. So if you end up liking this kink, you can just go through her list, and, like, most of her books are going to have that in there. She also will list all of the, like, triggers or content, so you can just straight up, like, make a, what's the word? Like, make a playlist of this and just go through those, right? But some of the things that are a part of all of them is that when you find your mate, none of the men, either the wolves or the vampires, get aroused by anyone who's not their mate. So this one particularly, Adrian, he's a psychopath, and he's very much, like, plays mind games with his mate before he gets her, but he's a virgin as well. This one also has size difference in, like, dude's got a big cock, so oh my god, I love scenes like that, just mixed with the breeding kink mixed in, like, we won't go there. But the other ones in the series too, these werewolves who maybe, these lichens who may be hundreds of years old, like, they've never been aroused by another woman but their woman. And I loved it. This one particularly, I thought it was interesting because the heroine thinks she's asexual because she's never felt attraction to anyone. What she really is Adrian sexual, which he will soon learn. So definitely recommend this series. You could probably jump into this series wherever you want, but a lot of them, like, connect, and they're quick books. So, and I think she has audios for, like, all of these, so check those out. Then we have, let's see where my bookmark is at. I got these beautiful bookmarks in from the author. But one of the books in the Immortal Covens that has breeding kink in it is Hydrus. And this one we have Naya, and we have Finrador. And he believes that he's supposed to have a mate with her, I believe. I don't know. There's, like, breeding kink in most of the books in this series, so that's why. But I picked Hydrus just to talk about a different one besides Lifeblood. Because also in Lifeblood, I don't think that Makai is thinking about breeding yet until, like, later on. But this one is between a Fae prince or Fae king and Naya, who is the leader of the coven. And she is a water witch, and she's also half Fae, and she's kind of keeping it a secret. Or she's part Winter Fae and part witch. And then the Blood King of the Fae, he is part of the Blood Fae. And he ends up, like, he was told that this witch would lead him to his mate, but he's like, well, I could still, like, have children with her, and she can be, like, my concubine, and once I find my person. And Naya's like, nah, that ain't gonna be happening. But he kind of takes her captive for a while to force her to lead him to his mate, and being too obstinate to realize that this prophecy that said this witch would lead him to his mate is, like, she is the mate. It's pretty hot. I love Finn and Naya, and I love, like, Amara Ray writes some great smut. Okay, it gets really spicy. Then I want to mention a book that I want to be 100% honest. I do not 100% like this. In fact, I didn't love this. But in regards to breeding kink, it is very high up on that list. And so I want to share this book. Just know that, like, it's not my fave, but it was recommended to me by someone. So some people really do like this. So I want to put it in here. And that's going to be Row by Dylan Page. And this is a primitive romance. So it actually takes place in, I think, the 70s. The heroine is going hiking and she ends up getting lost. And she gets found by these group of primitive people. And they cannot speak our language. They have very few sounds that they can make. And our heroine gets taken in by Row, the hero, who makes her his mate. And there is a lot of, like, her not wanting him to come in her because she doesn't want to become pregnant and be stuck here with these primitive people. She still wants to escape. But he's not going to let her do that. And he actually will, like, keep her captive on their furs and just fuck her again and again and again and not let her clean herself or go wash up. He literally keeps her there until she's pregnant. And when I was reading it, it was making me very frustrated because it was very hard to like this hero. But, like, he's primitive. This is what he knows to do, is to fuck the woman till she's pregnant, and then it will continue our species. So if you want to be in the book specifically just for the breeding and not care what the romantic levels are, this was an interesting ride. And it's funny too, because this is book 1 in what's going to be a series. So I'm morbidly curious about who the next book is about, but I'm also like, Jen, don't do it. Don't do it. But I'll probably end up doing it. So we'll see what happens. Okay. Then we just got a couple left here. And these were also books that were in the dubious consent and CNC video because a lot of the breeding part of it is non-consensual. So just know that for these, there's a whole host of trigger warnings for these books I'm going to talk about, so make sure you look it up. Descent by Sam Mariano. This one I've talked about multiple times. This starts with a heroine being tricked into a sex club. She doesn't know that's where she's going, and she gets raped by the hero. He's like, you're not going to be able to get away from me. This is what's happening. If you comply, it'll be fine. If not, it's going to be tougher for you, but I'm still going to rape you. But I'll let you go at the end because I'm super powerful and there's nothing you can do about it. This is a fantasy I want to live out because I've paid people before to, you know, have a consensually non-consent event, but now I want to do it for real and I want to do it to you. So he rapes her and then lets her go, and she's mentally disturbed by this. But then he becomes a stalker and wants to have her all the time and not use protection because he also wants her to have his baby. And when she finds out she's pregnant and wants to do something about it, he's like, there's no fucking way I'm letting you stop this. Like, we're going to be together forever. And it's like, okay. So, very intense. Calvin is disturbing, but there we go. That's this one. Then I'm bringing up the Belladonni Crime Syndicate again. This is the one that I talked about it a lot. This one is kind of a second chance romance, and it involves him sabotaging her birth control, like taking her pills away from her and poking, literally like not giving her a chance for prevention because he wants her to be his and he wants her to have his heir. So that happens in this one. This one is a little more, like, I know that sounded like super sinister, but this one's not as sinister as what this one feels like. This is book 3 in the series. And this one is about Riker. And he's been watching our heroine for a while. Her husband had recently died. He was a crooked cop who had actually worked with the syndicate before. And when her husband died, which he'd actually been watching her before her husband died, but he'd been keeping his distance. He saw the guy being a mostly good spouse, and so he wasn't, you know, gonna do anything about it, but he was biding his time. And then this guy ended up dying, and so he's like, perfect, I'm gonna let her mourn and then I'm gonna swoop in. And so he has slowly been entrenching himself in her life without her knowing it. He has been taking over debts for her, he's been making ways smooth for her, and now the time has come. And he basically kidnaps her children, brings them to the new home, and then he picks her up and is like, I have your kids at my home. And he brings her and is like, look at this beautiful place I made for your children. He's made this like fairy tale palace of a room for the little girl and this boys room with like superheroes and NASCAR. And he's like, you're going to be mine now, and we're going to have our own baby together. I will love your children as my own, but we're going to have a baby together. And she's like, what the fuck? You just kidnapped me. And he's like, there's nowhere for you to go. You're mine now. You're going to have my baby. And when I tell you, this is probably my favorite one in the series. I don't care what that says about me. It's probably my favorite in the series because he literally like has captive her, but he does it in this such a gentle way that it's disturbing in its gentleness. So there we go. There are some breeding kink recommendations for you at every level. I'd be happy to hear what your recommendations are down below. I went through many lists for this, and I tried to find, you know, I picked ones that I genuinely enjoy because there's a lot of breeding kink out there, and some of it is just straight up erotica, which is totally fine. But I picked out ones, you know, with the exception of Row, that I also genuinely like the books, no matter how disturbing they were. So, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Very interested to see what this video will get rated. We'll have to see what happens. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.